We've got a full discussion of Weekend 13 results, including UCLA's last-second W, Auburn's big win on the road, a Coastal Carolina drop, and some craziness on Rocky Top. Plus, with a busy week ahead, we're picking Week 14 well in advance. Come and join us for this episode of College Baseball Now.
Ain't no problems, that won't problem with me, no. Let me talk to the chat. They know I was gone for a minute, had to BRB. Had to grab a couple wins with a DID. They sleeping on the kid, I had to do it BIG. I can never be average, and they want a problem with the boy, they don't want no static. I don't need your cosign running with God. Wanna test that, tell them what's happening. Took control, run the game. Best believe I'm shining dog. Counting up my wins, yeah, I love it when they count me out. Off the leash, of the chain, boy, I've been a dog. Best believe I run the game, you know I'm in control of y'all. It's like magic, believe I want that static. Yeah, it's like magic, believe I want that static. Yeah, it's like magic, believe I want that static. Beat them up, knock them out. They really don't want no static.
Back again in College Baseball Now. Thrilled to be here with you to break down Weekend 13 and get into talking about Weekend 14, as well as a ton of other stuff. Your hosting team is here, starting with me, your friend, your host, your boy, Drew Wheeler, Director of Amateur Scouting at Prospects Live. So happy to be here with you and with my friends. Starting with the gentleman in the middle, it is the freshly graduated, looking to be the freshly shaven. Good shave on that man. Josh Catlett. Josh, how are you, sir? Now you got a little stub on you.
I shave every single morning, so
Do
I
you?
guess I have to. The fact that I haven't shown you pictures of my beard by now is criminal. If I haven't actually done that, I'll show you. I grew one out for about 4 weeks last year, and it was not as long as yours, but impressive nonetheless. So if I didn't shave, that would happen pretty often.
I love that. And
I'll pull up the picture in a second.
Go ahead.
I'll show the people. I'll show the Americans.
We'll show us and the American people. On the far right, Coach Jake Bargery. Coach, tomorrow a busy day. Unfortunately, one not for the Arcadian Knights. Won't be making the tournament, sadly. But selection day, I know you're going to be invested in that.
I am going to be invested in it. Unfortunately, I'm only watching. As an outsider at this point, we just barely missed the cut for being included in that selection show, but it's gonna be fun nonetheless. I'm gonna be locked in to see who ends up going where.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Jake, I'm curious while Josh is looking for that. What's the longest beard you've ever had?
I can't really grow a super long beard like this is. I can go a little bit longer than this. I don't have to shave too often either. I guess that's kind of why.
Nice.
It's kind of a good thing about it. Like there's certain parts of my face that like won't grow hair. Like I don't know. Like I can make it look like this, and I just like trim it a little bit, but it doesn't get too much longer.
Holy moly! Look at this.
Yeah, I can also.
It almost looks like AI. Can I see it one more time? Like it's a little insane, honestly.
Hold on, I put it away. I'll bring it back.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry.
You're good. There we go.
I mean, not a bad look.
I don't think it's terrible. I'll show you I shaved it into a mustache for 2 days just for jokes.
Yeah.
I can pull that one up quickly. Give me a second. It should be right here. Yeah, here it is. Thoughts?
That's got to come back. It's got to come back one day.
Man.
Here's the thing. I keep wanting to bring it back. Just like I kind of enjoyed it, and it was such a thing that it was like every guy I know was like, "That's awesome." Every girl I know, besides a couple, were like, "That's the worst thing ever. Please shave." But I want to do it again, but there's no circumstance in which I can go through that phase of like, it's about a week into shaving it where I just look disgusting, and there's just no point in time in which I can do that. Like I did it last year. It was like the week before I went back to Auburn for the winter semester or for the spring semester. And I could I'm just sitting around my house here. I can warrant that. But there's just no world in which I can do that now, having a day job and traveling and stuff. So I don't know when it would happen. But nonetheless, I enjoyed it.
Congrats on the air, by the way, on the new gig. Well done. Well done.
Thank
This
you.
man's speed running life. Graduates and he's got his first job.
Yeah,
It's impressive.
and my day job is about 2 minutes from the Hoover Met, so that's quite the spot to be in terms of this.
Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. Well, Josh will be close to the Hoover Met. And we've learned a little bit more about what teams will be closer to the weekend on the Hoover Met, at least in terms of the SEC tournament coming up this year. Learned a little bit more as well. I know that this weekend we also learned quite a bit about UCLA. I think as we alluded to on the last episode, guys, this would be almost the last opportunity for a Big Ten team to really sock it to them. And if they were going to take a loss, probably going to be this weekend. Jake, I think it was you that said if they're going to take a loss, it would be this weekend. And yet, 5-run deficit today. They have come back to defeat Oregon. And Josh, you called it the Big Ten Series of the Year. Curious to get your thoughts overall on what we learned most about UCLA this weekend.
Even though they pulled it out today, I think we learned that they are immortal in some way. I mean, they're going to finish 29-1 probably in the Big Ten. So, they dropped one game. They're not going to hit the 30-0 mark that no one else ever does, which, was a high bar anyways, but we thought they could do it. I mean, they're just resilient. They showed today they're resilient. They haven't faced a ton of adversity against really big teams. And, I mean, look, if we're being honest, hand up, I put in the format that the top thing we were going to talk about today was how they were proved they were immortal because Oregon beat them in a series. And sure enough, they just kept chipping away. And I'm getting ready to do other stuff, and I'm watching the game, and just they kept coming back and chipping away 1 or 2 an inning. And then Dean West happened in the 8th. So I don't know. It just proves that their big guys stepped up this weekend too. I mean, Rock Chalowski had a great weekend, 5 for 13, hit 3 home runs. Gasparino had 4 hits, 3 of which are doubles, and 1 was a home run, all extra base hits. You love to see that from them. Also, Redeman still wasn't back this weekend, and I think he might be next weekend if I remember correctly, or if I saw that correctly. But the guy that hasn't been starting all year for them but is now, Wyland Moss, started on Friday this week, and I think he did last week too. He looked awesome. 7 innings, only allowed 1 earned on 3 hits and 9 strikeouts against a lineup like that. That's really good to see. So when it comes to if they get down to the 4th day of a regional and they need another arm like that, it's good to see that someone else can step up and be a reliable guy in that spot. Although they probably use him in a bullpen spot earlier in the week, if we're being honest. But still, regardless, you can probably get 3-4 good innings from him in the Game 7 if they were to need one. But at this point, with the competition they're facing in the regional, probably won't need one, but, it's just nice to know.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Coach, when I think about Wyland Moss, I think about you prepping him up. I mean, you guys, Josh, I think you talked about Wyland Moss in the preseason as well before the season even started, kind of hyping him up. So, yeah, it's good to have that long-term thread on college baseball now come back and form a nice piece of this sweater. Jake, I want to take the opposite approach with you, though. Oregon, I think, and I'm going to hand up here. I've thought Oregon was pretty fraudulent all season long, but now I've got to say, I got to put that to bed. They looked as good as any team has looked against UCLA this season. What do you think we most learned about Oregon this weekend, Jake?
I think we learned that Oregon is not overrated, for one thing. We've been kind of we've talked about them before on here in that fashion, talking about how they might be a little bit overhyped. We're not the biggest Oregon, like we didn't jump on the Oregon bandwagon as quickly as some other people did, but I mean they got a win against that UCLA team that hasn't lost a game in Big Ten play yet this year. I mean, like we saw we saw a big home run from that I hope I'm saying his name right, Nelaval Lewacki. I know I'm not saying that right, but like he had a big homer in that second game. We got a Maddox Maloney sighting in that second game as well. Tanner Bradley was really good out of the pen for them. That third game, like they got up really quick in that third game as well. Just that UCLA offense just kept chipping away, and they eventually, obviously, Dean West came away with the big hit there at the end. But like I think we learned that Oregon, they can hang with some of the best teams in the country. Obviously, they hung with UCLA. They beat them once. Miles Gostolo was really good in today's game. The bullpen was also solid. Devin Bell had a tough day, but like I think we learned that Oregon is better than we probably have been giving them credit for, even though we've had them ranked and they've kind of been in our rankings for a little while. But I think they're just better than what we have probably given them credit for.
I can't agree more, dude. I think that is certainly the lesson I took away is, Drew, you're being too critical. This is absolutely a team who deserves the spot they've been in. And I think that it was nice to see them prove it against obviously a top team in the nation in UCLA. The Big Ten series of the year, Josh, you think? Big Ten of the year?
I mean, it's probably what people would consider to be the best two teams, even though the standings, I don't know if people are aware of this, the standings don't reflect that. Oregon's tied for fourth in the Big Ten with Purdue. I'm in a weird spot with them because I come away from the weekend feeling better, honestly. I had them at 7 in my rankings last week. I'm only dropping them to 8 this week. Because, I mean, look, you take one on the road against the number 1 team in the country and almost take the series. Like, can't dock them too much for that. I feel like this week proved to me that they should be a host, but their resume hasn't put in a spot where they might not be after the results this weekend, and that kind of sucks. But that's just how it is. They're up to number 27 in the RPI, which is still low, but it's up from where it was just because taking one from UCLA was huge.
Yeah.
I mean, they host USC next week. We'll talk about later, but that could be another big spot to boost their RPI and get them into a host spot. But I think they probably will because they deserve it at this point. And all the people that were saying they were overrated, which was some of us on this podcast, to be honest. Yeah, exactly. Kind of proven wrong in a sense. Like Oregon heard all of it, and the series lost to Michigan wasn't great for them. But I think that I don't know if Big Ten series of the year. I don't know if like the caliber of play was necessarily it. It might have been. It was pretty close besides Friday's game. But in terms of quality of team, it's 1 and 2 in my opinion. So I'd say pretty easily.
Word. All right. Josh, want to stick with you to talk about your Auburn Tigers locked up in national seed. I think that's pretty much beyond, rep it, bro. Beyond kind of argument at this point in my brain, when they took a huge road series win in Starkville over Mississippi State. And buddy, I'll tell you, we texted during the game. Starkville was raucous as ever, and how, but yet Auburn managed to win that game in decisive fashion on Friday, and that's not even getting into yesterday, pal.
Yeah, I mean, I think this team it's proven a lot over the past few weeks for sure, but one of it being they're not phased on the road. They won in College Station, they won in Starkville, they've won in Gainesville. I mean, like, it'll be nice to have a regional and hopefully a super regional at home, but if they were to go on the road, that obviously does not phase this team because they're playing similar level quality teams and going and winning, taking 2 of 3 in all these series. I mean, there were some issues this weekend, sure, like Jake Marciano and Andreas Alvarez are starting to get hit around just a little bit, which I felt like the regression to the mean was going to happen for them at some point. Maybe not this drastically because it is kind of jarring at a certain point, but nonetheless, they could figure it out against some somewhat lesser competition because Mississippi State, A&M are some of the better bats you'll see top to bottom. Petro has still been doing really well week to week. Ryan Hetzler slammed the door yesterday, came in, looked really good in the closing spot. I think the big storyline here is the offense. Chase Fralick is nails. I mean, that's the most reliable guy on this offense. That's who I want stepping up to the plate in the biggest moments. He's been on fire with the long ball recently, had the game-winning home run on yesterday. Yeah. Had the game-winning home run yesterday. Hit, I think, 6 in the past couple weeks. Even, like, it's the turnaround from this team that I saw. There was this stat they showed on the broadcast yesterday that in game 1, the top 3 in the lineup, Mason McCray and Eric Guevara, Chase Fralick, went a combined 0 for 12 with 9 strikeouts. The second 2 games, they combined to go 10 for 25 with 8 RBI, a home run, and 2 doubles. So they turned things around pretty well, I'd say. And I mean, that's not
pretty
even
quickly.
Yeah, no kidding. And that's not even talking about guys like Ethan Bingaman, that like Chris Rembert finally looked good this weekend. It's overall, this team is becoming so well-rounded, and it's kind of hard to not feel good about them. Oh, yeah. If that, no matter who they're playing, besides, you get to Omaha and you're facing the UCLAs, the Georgia Techs of the world, that's maybe different. But in terms of the SEC, Sure, they lost a home series to Texas. That was a month and a half ago. This team is very different. It's hard to not feel really good about them against anybody.
It's fair, completely fair. And I mean, you said it, and it's not like I was an Auburn doubter by any means, but going into Mississippi State is just a stern assignment for anybody. But I mean, I've seen a team who, bless my soul, I would have to say is probably worse than Auburn go into Mississippi State and do what they did and take wins.
Probably. All right.
Look, give me a break, Josh. The point is,
we're going to get to talk about them in about 5-10 minutes here. All right.
I know. The point is, I think that it's obvious that it could be done because it was done by a team that has been lesser than Auburn this season at times. And yet, it was a lot. But seeing Auburn and the way they played, and I mean, we talked about Alvarez, and that was obviously the game that I was there for in person and I was locked in on. Looked awesome. I mean, I think you said it best where there's the secondaries get a little spotty. But
that's been his thing for 2 years at this point, yeah.
But it was effective, and he really did amazingly at working out of trouble in that environment. Doubly impressive, considering it is so great. It's just raucous. It can be crazy. Either way, the bats looked good. I think it was 2 pitchers on Saturday, so they did not overextend the bullpen. Just really effortlessly efficient baseball, and particularly when we talk about yesterday's game, Josh, I know you have to be thrilled. Jake, on the other side of this equation, Mississippi State fans are probably a little shook. This season has not completely slipped out of their fingers. I think that the likelihood of still being a regional host it's on the table for Mississippi State, and yet not ideal for the Bulldogs.
Not really. I mean, like last weekend or this weekend, I guess. Like they got good pitching from Valencius and Jack Bauer in that first game. Bryce Chance, Garrick Fry, and Jacob Parker. They came through in some big spots, but like it's a little bit concerning how quiet their bats kind of went after game 1. Like Ace Reese was awesome. Garrick Fry had a really nice game 3, but that was kind of it for them. And then they got to see Ryan McPherson come back this weekend. Which is nice for them. He went 34 pitches, battled through not being the most effective, but he only allowed 1 run, 1 earned in his outing. The bullpen in that game was just horrendous, though. Everyone except Tyler Pitzer, who came in for the last 2 outs of the game for him, gave up 2 or 3 runs. Just really bad pitching performance overall. And then just talking about you're talking about their host bid and that kind of stuff. This does hurt their chances, especially at getting one of those top 8 seeds. Right now, they're sitting. Last time I checked, I don't know if Josh has an updated number. I think it was at 11 last time I checked 8? For Mississippi State.
Yeah, they're 11. No, wait, 12.
Okay. 12.
Yeah, 12.
Okay. Which last time I checked, they were just 1 spot separated from A&M, which they play next weekend. That just makes that next weekend series just become that much more important. They could be playing for that top 8 seed. They could be playing for just a host in general. You don't know what it's going to come down to with RPIs and all that stuff. But this loss does hurt their chances, especially against one of those national seeds.
I think those teams are both pretty safely hosts at this point. But with Kansas dropping the way they did this week, that's a different discussion. But I feel like those teams are probably fighting for a top 8, if I were to say so.
You're saying Josh, winner gets 1, loser does not, but it's still likely a host.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. I'm just confirming I understood you, and I would agree with that sentiment as well for sure. All right, boys. Josh alluded to it just a minute ago. Josh couldn't wait to talk about the Tennessee Volunteers, and who could blame him? Not all Jake. Man, throw him up. Throw him up, Jake. It's hard not to be hyped. Josh, you want to join us? Attaboy. Thank you. I did. Now, Josh, I didn't tell you this. I wanted to wait and see your face on camera. In Starkville, I gave a begrudged but yet enthusiastic War Eagle at the end of the game. I put my life on the line to shout that out. For
just into the abyss?
Just into the abyss.
Okay. I respect it. I'll take it. I knew I felt something tingled when you were at the game the other night. Like something I could tell something was going on. It's good to know that's what it was.
That's what it was.
My spidey
Jake,
senses were going off.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Auburn senses were tingling. Jake, we had some tingly senses on Rocky Top this weekend. 2 wins over Texas. Pal, I think it's safe to say Tennessee over its last 2, and we said this last weekend or before, predicting on Wednesday. They needed 3 wins of their last 2 series. So between Texas and Oklahoma, we need 3 wins to kind of cement a spot. I kind of thought, what if we sneak one out from Texas? But it's like I said, man, I'll be selfish and say I want 1. I'll go a step further and say I want 2. And the Lord above has blessed me yet again. 2 wins from Texas, Jake. Let's talk.
Yeah, I mean the battle of the UTs, it ended up just the way it was destined to. I mean, game 1, Tegan Coons, and I don't really want to mention anyone else in that game. I mean, a career high 15 strikeouts, 7 shutout innings for Tennessee. I mean, he was seemingly just getting stronger as the game went on. It seemed like, he was throwing first pitch strike 73% of the time. The fastball was insane, just a flat out, like just a dominant performance over one of the best lineups in the country. And then game 2, it was kind of all Tennessee as well, up until like that last inning where it got a little bit weird when Appenzeller was trying to finish the game there. But Tennessee put up 16 hits with 8 of them going for extra bases, 6 of them being homers. Like, I don't know, every starting hitter besides Henry Ford, I guess, came away with a hit in this one. Trent Grinlinger 4 for 5, kind of being the star of that one. He was a triple shy of the cycle there. But this was just an absolute statement series win for Tennessee, and I think this kind of, like you alluded to, this kind of all but guaranteed themselves a spot in a regional. They were kind of on the bubble, like a little bit leaning toward earning that spot already. I know me and Josh has had them in the last couple of times, but they really didn't have that SEC win total to the point where they needed it to. And then they're sitting there now with 13 wins, and then they got a series against Oklahoma coming up, and the tournament coming up. I think they're going to be sitting just fine come selection day.
Sure hope so. Josh, let's flip this script really quickly and talk Texas, because Sunday, Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day at home to all the mothers out there, by the way. If you're listening to this, you must love your children and or husband very much. So happy Mother's Day to you. Josh, Texas really came alive today on Mother's Day. Their offense looked insane, bro. I don't think this is anything necessarily for Texas to be ashamed of. Tennessee has shown all year to be a very talented, if wholly inconsistent team. And yet, Texas obviously wanted to win this series. The first one in either home stadium for these teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for them because it's only the second series they've lost all year, obviously, but it's not the worst loss in the world. They're still pretty solidified as a top 8 to me, which I know they have higher standards than that. They want to go higher than that, but at the least, you can at least settle on that. I mean, they won't have a chance at the SEC anymore because Georgia locked it up this weekend. But nonetheless, I still think they're in a fine spot. Adrian Rodriguez, Casey Borba looked really good today. Although A-Rod first couple games did not look good at all. He was 1 for 9 with 6 strikeouts, and that was kind of one of the big selling points of what made – I mean, there were a lot of things that made this not go their way the first couple games because it was such a blowout on – was it yesterday? One of the games was a blowout. I forget. Regardless, I think you do have some positives to take away from this, especially the way their offense came back today. Some of the starting pitching besides – or I guess all the starting pitching besides Volantis, kind of concerning. Luke Harrison did not look good yesterday. Allowed 4 earned in 3 2/3. Ruger Riojas has kind of looked rough in general lately, and he really got touched up bad today in the first inning. Kind of bounced back a little bit the next couple, but regardless, I think that there's something that you can hang your hat on today, and that's the way they bounce back, even though you lose 2 straight in a post-game scenario, doesn't matter anymore. I'm still high on this team. I still think they're a top 5, top 6 team in the country. It's not the worst team in the world to lose to, obviously, but I mean they've won bigger series, so you think it offsets. But the way they've looked recently, kind of like I think I said this in the preview, they don't really dominate teams. They would kind of take 2 of 3 and just kind of skim by with the series win. This week they lost 2 of 3, so it's not really anything that's been dominant for a long time, and that's more concerning. Besides, I guess the starting rotation, but nonetheless, I still think they'll be fine. Like it's a very Omaha caliber team. I think they'd be in my top 4-ish picks to win the national championship. Probably still. I think the pitching can turn it around, and the offense has the high upside that I think they'll still be fine long term.
I think so too. Josh, beyond Tegan Coons, are there any Tennessee players that you want to shout out as having a particularly good weekend?
Reese Chapman looked really good. He went 5 for 12, 3 home runs, 8 RBI this weekend. Pretty solid. Trent Grindlinger, I don't really need to talk about it. I think you'll all know plenty how good he is. What was the thing you said the other day? Trent grinds? Is that what y'all are saying these days?
Yeah.
Yeah, accurate. He's been an unsung hero that I did not expect to have this kind of role on this Tennessee team this year, but he's been perfectly filling in spots when other guys are not stepping up on certain games. So Reese Chapman, Trent Grindlinger, the obvious ones. Besides, I mean, Tegan Coons, that goes without saying at this point.
I'm going to offer you a high five. Thank you for your support, GBO. Appreciate that. All right, Jake, really quickly, if you had to give an MVP of the weekend for Tennessee and then a sentence as of why, who would you give it to?
I mean, I don't know. Tegan Coons. I mean, you just talked about him. I talked about him. He deserves to be talked about after that performance. He was awesome. He was awesome.
You read my mind, Jake. We needed to say it one more time. That was a masterful performance, and we were fortunate enough to kind of pass the stats around. Thank you again, Josh, on that game on Friday night. But man, fastball shape alone, it just was ridiculous. That was one of the most dominating fastball performances. I mean, I dare say since like Gage Wood in the Carlos World Series or last season, the 19 strikeout game where it was like 90% fastballs thrown. It was just an insanely dominant pitch that night.
I've been really hesitant to move him up on my college board or really my overall board to that kind of like first round range. I've been flirting with it. And then after the metrics and everything that I saw from the other day and the way he dominated Texas, I finally broke down and did it because I think he's worthy of it. Because if I'm now seeing it that consistently in a starter role against lineups as good as that, I think it's worthy.
I love it. Glad to hear. And Jake, I agree with you. Good pick for the MVP of the weekend. Guys, if there's such a thing as like an anti-MVP, I guess that's like a LVT, least valuable team of the weekend. Is it Coastal Carolina? A consistent top 10 flirting team for us and for many outlets. Coastal drops a terrifyingly bad home series this weekend. I'm not going to talk about it, Josh. I'd love it if you could get into what Coastal did or perhaps didn't do this weekend and there's plenty to talk about outside of just the chance in this one too.
Yeah, I think the pitching is where I'd probably want to go to first because I think there's 2 names that really stand out. Cam Fluke had his second start back from injury today, and in 2 2/3 innings, he allowed 4 runs. Granted, only one of them was earned, and that got changed, I think, after the game. An error got switched in there, but regardless, he allowed 5 hits, 4 runs, and 2 2/3. His ERA, I think, if I remember correctly, now it's like above 6 on the year, but before they switched those runs to being unearned, it was like above 8, which I know small sample size. He's pitched in like 3-4 games this year, and he's been injured. I get that, but still, like that's your guy. Like that's who you want. That's like who you need in these big games. And it's looked rough coming back from injury. Also, I think what's probably considered to be their best reliever, Darren Horn, looked really bad today. Well, the box score at least did. He looked fine for a little bit. Pitched 5 innings, allowed 4 earned, and 7 hits, only struck out 2 guys. It's just like against Old Dominion too, it's really concerning. Overall, their RPI dropped 10 spots on the week. They're 27 in RPI now. They really might have knocked themselves out of a host spot, which sounds crazy to say, but I mean they have 8 quad 3 and 4 losses combined. They only have 7 quad 1 wins, which besides USC is seemingly lower than about everybody else in that range, and Oregon State, I guess. They have a chance to bounce back against Louisiana next week. But regardless, it's really concerning to see from a team that made such a deep run last year, won 26 straight going into the postseason.
Yeah.
And now when you think that you're rebuilding and it kind of seems all year like, all right, we're a top 10 team again, then you just tank a home series like this. And they were one bad coaching decision away from dropping a home series to South Alabama too. So it's possible. Like even if they did host and they were at home, the home field advantage doesn't mean everything against these high caliber teams this year. And that's the kind of concerning thing if I was a Coastal fan.
Love the statement, it's possible, because it's factual. That could have happened. It could have. Yeah, you're right. Jake, let's flip the script here, man. ODU, we got to put some respect on these boys. Old Dominion come in and took 2 over Coastal. Like, hats off to them. Who shone this weekend for them?
Yeah, they had big performances at the plate. Will Johnson, McCadden Dye, and Efren Morales were their big hitters, especially in the second and third games of this series. JJ Gaddy looked pretty good in his start. 4 innings. He did give up 3 runs, but he struck out 6, was keeping them off the bases. Ben Tanton was awesome out of the bullpen in that one. 5 innings, 7 strikeouts, no runs in that one. And then in the third game, Jackson Okonkwo did what he was supposed to do, went 60 pitches, 4 innings, no runs. And then just the rest of the guys there, Patrick Johnson, Bailey Matella, Nick Sulpizio, they all kind of just finished the game out for Old Dominion. And, they earned the series win. I don't think anyone needs to take anything away from them. I don't think you can just say Coastal played a bad series. Old Dominion played a good series, and they earned the recognition.
They sure did. Sulpizio looked really good. I tuned in for a little bit of him pitching. He didn't look bad at all. I was impressed with Sulpizio specifically. Shout out to him. No, totally. And Jake, just to kind of piggyback off what Josh was saying a minute ago, 10 spots to drop in the RPI for Coastal is just, gut-wrenching for them at this point. You could have knocked yourself out of having a Conway Regional. That's stern business, man.
Yeah, that is tough. They're still at the top of the Sun Belt standings by just a game at this point. But they dropped to 27, like Josh said, and that number simply just it just might not end up being good enough. They do play Louisiana, which they take 3 from Louisiana. I don't know what that's going to really get them to in terms of the teams ahead of them. Somebody's going to have to lose, I think, also. But them losing that host it's not good for them. And despite whatever else they might have going for them, resume wise, just that RPI number being as low as it is, it's going to have to get up into that top 20 range for us to start having this conversation again about them hosting. And I don't know, the RPI is weird, the formula is weird. They could get there, but 27 is definitely not where they want to be.
Certainly not. Josh, I'm curious. Jake brought up something interesting, and I'd just love to pick your brain on it super quickly if that's possible. He said Coastal would have to hope that some teams ahead of them would lose, as well as taking 3 over Louisiana. Are there any teams that jump out at you, Josh? And Jake, feel free to look as well for after Josh answers, who could be kind of candidates for that, for Coastal to be not only out there handling business themselves, but almost rooting for a loss from maybe these couple teams?
I would say off the top of my head, the teams that come to mind would be Ole Miss goes to Bama this weekend. They're right in that range. If they drop 2, especially if they drop 3, they'd probably get put out of that range, even with how they looked this weekend. Oregon, mentioned it earlier too. If they drop the series to USC, they could be knocked out of that range. Nebraska, I forget who Nebraska plays this upcoming weekend. Trying to think who else is in that exact. Southern Miss, honestly, they could get up. They'd have to get upset big time, but they're in that 13 to, 18-ish range. Those are probably the teams they'd be rooting for to lose. Although they could, Coastal could handle Southern Miss themselves in the Sun Belt tournament. They could, control their own destiny there. But if, say, for example, I think Ole Miss is a host right now, but if they were to get swept by Bama, that would put them in a spot where they're probably playing one of Mizzou, South Carolina, or like LSU in the first game of the SEC tournament. And if they lost that, then those 4 losses could knock them out. So it's not probable, but it's possible. Coastal still could be a host as they are now. I don't know what that's going to look like. We'll going to be doing the bracketology show live here on Wednesday, so we'll look at it together. I haven't fully dove into what that would look like for Coastal right now compared to what it was in the past, but I would venture to say they're just on the outside looking in.
Jake, any thoughts kind of piggybacking off what Josh said right there about Coastal? Who could they be maybe rooting against?
Yeah, I mean, you have Oklahoma a couple spots ahead of them at 20. They're playing Tennessee this weekend. You don't know how that's going to go for them. Another one is Oregon State. Not that they're necessarily rooting for them to lose, but like the scheduling thing for Oregon State, they play Portland, and then they have their final weekend series against Air Force, which those are RPIs number 118 and 159. Like naturally, just playing those teams at home, it's not going to do Oregon State too many favors. I don't know how it's going to work if they do win all 4 of those games, which is probably expected to be the case. But like just playing those teams it's not going to boost Oregon State. I don't know if it would end up dropping them or not, but that's definitely a team that Coastal's probably got their eye on if they were to drop one of those games. Oregon State, that that would most certainly take them for a tumble.
I think so too.
Also, I just looked, and Nebraska goes to Minnesota this weekend, which is not unreasonable. They could drop that. Michigan dropped 1 Minnesota this week. Dropping 2 is probably rough, but that's what they would need. It's not the worst thing in the world. Minnesota's not bad, so just putting that on record. Everything is like somewhat within reason.
There's enough options where if maybe 2 of these things happen, Coastal's still pretty well in play, is what you're saying.
Right.
Okay. Word. Love it. We kind of dilly-dallied around these 2 teams, so I know that we probably won't have a whole ton to speak about with them specifically. But Ole Miss, really big series win for them against Texas A&M. Looks like they are probably going to be in a catbird seat to host. Now, a little bit of destiny in the hands of the Rebels. Josh, what do you think?
Their destiny's in their own hands. You just said it yourself. There's no reason not to believe in the starting rotation at this point. Hunter Elliott looked really good this weekend, punched out 11 guys in 6 innings. Taylor Reid punched out 14 guys in 6 innings. All his earned runs came in the 4th inning. He looked really good in the other 5 that he pitched in. Cade Townsend is Cade Townsend. He didn't look great on Saturday, granted, but we still know what he is. We're not really concerned about that. I think the offense is kind of where the struggles come in. Guys like Dom Decker, Austin Foley looked pretty good this weekend. We're not really concerned about, Tristan Becerra, Judd Utermark. I think those guys will be good enough in like a postseason play in postseason play in some way. They just got to be good enough this weekend against Bama, like we just kind of hinted at. That's their whole season at this point. I think lose that series, they could still host, but it really does seem like it all is reliant. Obviously, what they do in Hoover matters too, because that's been shown in the past that really does matter. But you could say it's a do or die against Bama this weekend for them. But in general, I have faith in this team. I don't know about like a long run, but the rotation has showed me they're definitely good enough to win a regional, get 2 or 3 dominant starts, and let the offense carry the way the rest of the way out, and then just see what happens in a super and hope for the best.
Yeah, I think so for sure. Jake, with A&M, not certainly not the ideal. It's not their ideal result here. And yet, they're kind of in the same boat with Ole Miss where, what really did you lose? You drop a couple of spots in terms of RPI, but things are still looking pretty peachy for College Station as well.
Yeah, it is. We talked about it earlier with where they are in terms of RPI, where they're just a couple spots ahead of Mississippi State, and that's who they play this weekend. So they could be playing each other for one of those hosts, but. For A&M, I think, it just kind of keeps proving itself each weekend, but like they did. So yeah, they lost this weekend, but like the bats are just still like legit. Like in that second game, like they scored 18 runs in that second game. Caden Sorrell, Bear Harrison, Blake Binder up, Hakopian. They had a ton of home runs. Hakopian and Royo going deep twice. Like that whole lineup just meant business. And like, they even, they showed some resilience in that third game as well. Just didn't come away with the win there at the end. For A&M, I just think, they're going to kind of live and die. I mean, as much as you can say they're going to live and die by their lineup, it's also they're very dependent on what type of pitching they get that day. Because like the deeper we get into the season, I mean, we're at the end of it now, but like the pitching is gonna matter, and it's going to catch up to it at some point, as it kind of did this weekend a little bit, where Ole Miss, outpitched A&M and they came away with the series win. So, I mean, it kind of showed up here, and then, the deeper we get into tournament play and all that kind of stuff, we'll see. We'll see how much it catches up to them again. But, I mean, the bats are real. We just got to see if they can pitch or not.
100%. I think you hit the nail on the head, because A&M's pitching is going to have to meet at least some semblance of the level that their offense is hitting for A&M to really reach their truest potential. Because at times this year, guys, A&M has looked like one of the best teams in the country. I don't think that they're far from it, even with a series loss to Ole Miss, and that certainly that'd be underselling Ole Miss, who is also incredibly talented. Josh, I did hear a magic word, a trigger phrase. I need a one sentence from you. I heard Chris Hacopian 2 home runs, and that just Josh bells are going off in my head. Yeah, that brings the floor to you.
Yeah, I mean, he's flirted with injuries all year in various ways, and so it's really good to see that he's able to bounce back from this weekend, have 5 hits, 2 home runs, 4 RBI, and a double. Pretty solid against the rotation that I just kind of harped on about for 30 seconds. It goes without saying what I think about him long term. We've had plenty of conversations about that, but yeah, it is really promising to see that he is doing way better while battling little nitpicky injury things here and there than other people around the country. So it's good to see in terms of this season, if something were to happen to him again, and long term for a pro org that's looking at him.
Josh, if you had to say one thing to the Hacopian haters, what would that be?
Well, the Hacopian haters aren't going to be on this podcast for like 3 more weeks because they're in Europe right now. So if he even listens to this, how about this? To see if he listens to our podcast or not, we'll see if he texts me about this and see if he gets this marked in the podcast. Text me and tell me that you heard this. No one else sent it to him. I just want to see if he listens.
The challenge has been laid out. Woof. We'll see how it goes. It's going to be a tough one because we're going to have to deal with the splendor of Europe. But I like to think we'll stand up pretty well against it. Jake, want to go to you here because, man, another team we've talked about all season long, and I don't think we've really given them kind of their due as almost being the Jekyll and Hyde, the Robert Louis Stevenson, analog we've used all season long. I mean, Virginia dropped below 500 in the ACC, losing at home to Cal. I think on a good day, the 3 of us and JB might could beat Cal.
Yeah, I mean,
the disrespect is real. We could not beat Cal. I mean, probably.
Yeah, I mean this one. I mean, it was unexpected to say the least. I mean, just speaking on some good for Virginia, John Paoni was great in game 2, 7 2/3, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, 2 hits, 1 earned. Besides that, Zatkowski was just okay in his outing. Lucas Hartman had a really hard time out of the bullpen in game 3. But on the bright side for the bats, Cal Johnson had a big grand slam in the first game, and then Joe Tiroli, it went crazy in game 3, 4 for 4, 3 jacks. But neither were big enough to give their team a win in those games, which is concerning for Virginia. And just this loss in general really stings for them. Like you mentioned, it drops them below 500 in ACC play. Their RPI, when I was taking my notes here, I assume it's still the same. It was at like 23. Which is obviously fine if that's the same number as it is now. But that does kind of this loss does take them out of host contention. They weren't really in contention too much before this weekend, but this kind of really stings more so just in the momentum department for Virginia. They're 1-5 in their last 2 ACC series, and they have to go on the road next weekend to Louisville to finish the regular season. Shout out Tate Davis, by the way, 33 homers, 91 RBIs. Take that, JB. But the end of Virginia, the end of the year for them has not really gone as planned. This is a part of the year where you want to be heating up, not cooling down necessarily.
I love the JV hate. This is awesome.
Jake's receipts are one of my favorite things about this podcast. He brings up Jake keeps receipts very well. I'll say that. So I don't disagree with Coach too often because I know he's going to get me whenever I'm wrong. Josh, because our favorite ACC fan is not here, I'm going to defer to you, the North Carolina supporter, and I'm curious, man. Just speaking in terms of ACC play, Virginia has been wildly inconsistent. I don't think there's any real reason to say true or false. I guess my question to you, pal, is would you put them kind of in that same bipolar, inconsistent, Jekyll and Hyde conversation that we've had with many teams, including, the most notable of these, Florida?
I mean, the thing with Virginia is not that they're really even Jekyll and Hyde. It's just kind of been bad for a long time, ever since North Carolina. Let's just be real. Like, I remember we had conversations earlier this year how we were higher on Virginia than most anybody else. And it took people a while to come around. They had that series win against North Carolina, and we're taking victory laps on here. And ever since then, it's just been steady, straight downhill. I mean, they have series wins against Wake, and I think who is it? I think Notre Dame was their other big one. Besides that, they've lost series to Cal. They got swept at Pitt. They've lost to other big teams, Florida State, Boston College. Go on. It's just underwhelming as a whole. I know we've, in terms of bracketology, been higher on them, kept them pretty high as a 2 seed, if not a host, for a while. This is going to dock them to a 3 seed in a lot of people's eyes. Like I said earlier, I haven't fully dove into it. So I don't really know. But I would imagine that they're probably still in that 2 seed, 3 seed bubble. Also, on top of that, they're tied for 7th in the ACC with 3 other teams. So I don't know how the tiebreakers work, but they could be the 9th seed in that, which personally I'm fine with because I'm going to that tournament. And if on that first day I get to watch Virginia play, that's a win for me. Nothing. I wanted to kind of bring this up to y'all, so I didn't even mean to do this, but I just naturally led into it. Virginia, I know we think, I don't know if we want to say highly of them anymore, but we've seen potential with them for a while. Tell me right now, either of you, both of you, besides AJ Gracia, obviously, is there one thing about Virginia that makes you believe in them, that they could win a regional, either side of the ball? Any specific thing? Is there anything at all?
You didn't mention Eric Becker.
Okay, true. I probably should have. I walked into that one, but
I'll say that. I mean, Tiroli, Becker and Gracia are professional players. I think when you put two of that quality guy on any team, it's hard to really just pish posh them and sweep them off into the ether. But at the same time, Josh, your point really does stand beyond even still. If we said that we rewind 5 seconds and you say beyond Gracia and Becker, what have they got that really gives you confidence in this being a region-winning team? I'm going to sit here on my hands for a minute and hope Jake comes up with something really smart. So, Jake, what do you got?
I mean, I guess I'm kind of right there with you. There's just not much consistency to this team. And we use that word a lot on here, and I try to keep myself from using it too much, but it is true. Like Peony, like I mentioned, he was good this weekend, but he's been up and down. Zakowski, he's hit or miss sometimes. Cal Johnson's hit or miss on the mound. The pitching isn't something that you can feel great about going against anybody necessarily. And you hit on their 2 hitters, and if those 2 guys aren't going, who can you count on? It's just kind of a coin flip for who's going to hit that day. I don't know. I'm kind of right there with both of you.
I mean, it's even before. Sorry, I'll go quickly. Even before this weekend, if you would have asked me the same question, something I probably would have said is Lucas Hartman has been one of their more reliable relievers. This weekend, he had 2 different outings. He faced 12 batters, only got 4 outs, allowed 6 earned runs and 5 hits. So I don't really feel the same way about him anymore if this is happening 2 games in a row against Cal. You know what I'm saying? Even Sam Harris has been pretty good this year. Sam Harris, Eric Becker, AJ Gracia together. Those guys hit for average pretty well. They don't strike out a ton. I feel good about that. It's just the other fill in the blank number of players on that team.
Yeah, you make a great point. Don't need to be any part of Sam Harris erasure. That's right. That's really true. Great point. Two things just to kind of dip on what you guys said before we move on. Jake, you're right. We talk about inconsistency and consistency a lot, but I think it's because it's very important. It's difficult to analyze a team or think about what a team is whenever they're not showing you consistently who they are. Anybody can look amazing on any given day. I mean, we've seen crazy things happen this season. I mean, you guys name one. We've seen some wild results where teams just look great in a single given game, and that's just kind of the beauty of baseball. But who are they consistently? That's what we are in the business of doing. That's what we're here to do. And when Virginia has looked, to your point, Josh, you said it's not really Jekyll and Hyde whenever it's not been, Mr. Dr. Virginia, Mr. Cavs. It's just Mr. Cavs. It's just Hyde. There's no Jekyll here. It's just Hyde with Virginia lately. It's bad. So if you're interested to see where Virginia ends up in some bracketology, as Josh alluded to a minute ago, we're going to be doving into that this Wednesday. We'll have more information on that as well. Yeah. To give a little more insight into that, though, I know we're going to talk about the bubble. I did want to throw out really quickly because we're going to get into pick 'em, and I know we got to be quick because we've got quite a bit left on the show. West Virginia, humongous series win in Lawrence over Kansas, 3-0. Just a dominant performance from the Mountaineers. And as I predicted, I can't say, Jake, you called it. You called it, Jake. Up top to you, bro. Good call. And yet, I got to give myself just a quick 2 on the back because Max Yale really did tear those Jayhawks up, son. I mean, looked lethal out there. The slider was just popping. Fastball was going. The velocity wasn't quite where I wanted it to be, at least in the ninth. But hey, the man pitched a complete game. Right there, you can drop a couple MPH, and I'm not going to dock him too much. Big day for the Rebel Yales, or the Yales Rebels, whatever we're going to call the Max Yale supporters of the world. Josh, really quickly, I'm going to let you lead us through kind of bubble talk. Let's not give too much away because we want the people to tune in this Wednesday to the live stream, though.
I mean, there's a lot of ways you can go with this. I think the big takeaway from this weekend is we knew coming into this the bubble is bad. We determined this last week when Jake and I were doing the bracketology. We're texting at y'all as we're doing it, like, guys, the bubble is bad. It got even worse this weekend. It truly, as if it couldn't get worse, it got worse. Just to name a few, these are some teams that I pegged that were just in or just out, and their weekend it got way worse for them. South Alabama was our last team in. They lost 2 of 3 at Troy. Somehow their RPI rose, which I don't know how that works, but the RPI is stupid anyway. NC State lost 2 of 3 at Stanford. RPI drops 5 spots, and they're hosting North Carolina next weekend, so it's really not looking too promising for them. It just gets worse from here. East Carolina lost 2 of 3 versus Rice. Their RPI dropped 12 spots to 52. UTSA lost 2 of 3 at Memphis. Their RPI dropped 10 spots to 48, which I think they're probably still in, but they probably shouldn't be as comfortable as I'm thinking in my mind. I mean, the bigger ones I haven't even really gotten to yet. UAB dropped 17 spots after losing 2 of 3 versus Charlotte at home, who had been bad recently. Vandy, I didn't really think they had a shot anyways, but people had been talking about it. They lost to Mizzou. Who loses series to Mizzou in 2026? That doesn't happen. And I mean, don't even get us started on how that Friday game ended. But I think if you're watching this podcast, you probably saw what happened at the end of the Vandy Mizzou game, so I don't need to talk about it. Regardless, they host South Carolina this week. Might not matter. You came into these couple weeks saying Mizzou and South Carolina, 2 good series. You could go 6-0, 5-1 against, do well in Hoover, and you're in. They now need to win in Hoover. So I think this is I don't know, LSU got swept by Georgia, Arkansas State got swept by Texas State. There's a lot of bubble teams that just lost the weekend. If you're asking me, if we were to do, I watch college football podcast in the fall, and people will be like, who won, who lost the weekend, whatever. If you were to ask me who lost the weekend, I would just say the bubble. as a whole. It's really bad. We need to go down to 56 teams in this tournament just for this year specifically because it is rough. You take that where you want, Jake. I don't know. It's just that's my big takeaway.
No. I mean, you're right, but now that you've mentioned all the badness of the bubble, I'd like to kind of. I'll add a trio of Sunbelt teams. How about that to the bubble? Troy, first of all, you talked about them. They took 2 or 3 from South Alabama. They're at number 54 in terms of the RPI right now, which is really kind of on the outside looking in a little bit. But they finished the year with a midweek at UAB, which you just talked about how they lost, but their number is still in a good spot, and a series on the road at ULM, which they're not the highest ranked team either, but going on the road, taking the series if they're able to sweep, who knows what that number can get to for Troy. Also Louisiana, they took 2 out of 3 from App State on the road. They're at number 45 right now, and they finished the year hosting Coastal. So there's a big opportunity there to get some quality wins, and if they get into that top, 40, even higher than that, who knows what the committee's going to look at there. And then for the other one, it'll be Texas State. They've been kind of creeping up here recently. They just swept Arkansas State on the road, and they're right now RPI number 42, and they finished the year with a midweek at UTSA. That's going to be a huge one to watch there. And then they get a home series versus Marshall. As long as they take care of business there, I think they're going to end up in a fine spot. And then just a couple others, like you mentioned LSU. I think they're at like 56, 57, something like that. So they're out of the traditional bubble range, but they host Florida, so there is an opportunity to do some damage. You never know what kind of Florida team you're going to get, and then they might get 1 or 2 wins in the tournament. There's a chance they could get those much needed SEC wins that they need once they get into the tournament there. And then also a team we already talked about is Cal. Cal, they finished the year hosting Stanford. They're right there with LSU in terms of the RPI. If they sweep Stanford, they get to 13 and 17 in ACC play. They'll have a chance in the ACC tournament. You talked about just a few minutes ago where the standings are there. They could get a favorable matchup in 1 or 2 games there, get a couple more wins. Who knows what the number might get to? But you hit the nail on the head though with the bubble kind of weakening a little bit. ECU losing to Rice is tough. NC State also lost. They were kind of one of our last teams in. Really tough series, lost to Stanford. That knocked them down a little bit. They'll probably still end up being in for us maybe when it's all said and done. I don't know, but that's a tough loss for them as well. Then you got like the UABs that are probably going to need like a conference tournament win at this point to get in. ECU, Miami, Ohio is another one that's taking care of business in the MAC, but their RPI is not going to improve the more MAC teams they keep playing. So it is weakening, but just to highlight a few teams that's doing good, at least. I think that's kind of we're taking note of.
Yeah, I think the biggest part of this, like just to go to show you how bad the rest of it was, is I would say a big winner on the bubble that we haven't mentioned, or I don't think you mentioned, was Purdue. We've talked about them some in this range, and even though like it wasn't a big series when they swept Indiana, they did what they needed to, but because everyone around them moved, by default they moved up. I think their RPI rose to 46. So I mean, like I think it just goes to show you what kind of weekend this was. A team like that was really helped. I mean, even Virginia Tech, they split with UNCG in a 2-game series this weekend, and that dropped their RPI. So it's really sad overall. I'm genuinely curious to see where we land on Wednesday. The one prediction I'm certain of, I will be frustrated, and so will the two of you probably, because it's not going to be fun. But I don't know how it's going to end up.
It's not going to be easy. No, I mean I know it's probably what you were going to say. It's going to be fun, but it's going to be a mind-numbing task at points, probably trying to decide between some of these teams.
Who in the world would subject themselves to this? Josh, if you had to sell the people at home on why to tune in on Wednesday, what would you tell them?
You might see me crash out. It's entertainment.
Jake, if you had to sell the people at home on why they should tune in, what would you say?
You might see Josh crash out. I mean, that's definitely a thing that could happen. I'm going to try to keep a level head, but Josh might not be able to handle it.
I get so frustrated every single week. It's just a thing at this point, and it's not necessarily crash out like mad, but you'll see me sit here with my hand in my face, like, oh my god, the entire time. So we'll get plenty of those.
We're probably going to sit there with the same 3 or 4 teams on our screens and just flipping back and forth to schedules. Who's going to win this one, or where are they going to seed in the tournament? Who's going to get wins? Like, and then in the end, none of those 4 teams are going to make it in. It's going to be somebody else.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you guys to let me in your world of bracketology, but I'm not sure that this is the thing I want. This is a new level of pain that you guys have subjected yourselves to, and I love hearing about it because you guys do a lot of great work. But thinking about what kind of person I'm going to be on the other side is a little scary. So.
For reference, Jake and I had a whole debate for literally, I kid you not, 10 to 15 minutes about, I guess it was 3 weeks ago at this point, between who should be our last team in between BYU and LSU, and now neither of them are sniffing the bubble. Like, not
a one. It's going to be fun, but either way, be sure to tune in this Wednesday for sure. But we've got plenty more to do on this episode. We are going to have to put the foot on the accelerator a little bit because we are going to have to talk pick'em. Because we're doing bracketology live on Wednesday, we're not going to be able to pick weekend 14. Thankfully, Josh went ahead, selected this upcoming weekend series, and we are going to get those picks in. One note before Josh walks us through the results of last weekend, wanted to let you know, as of right now, our friend JB Sebastiano has not gotten his picks to us, but we will have them. He will have his picks with us. Josh is right. He will have his picks to us by the time that our graphic goes live. So we will, of course, have him in the mix as always. Josh, let's hear about what happened last weekend before we get into the first series.
Well, yeah, we got a fun situation on our hands. We're coming in on the last week of the pick'em. Jake is trying to cut back late. Jake went 5-3 last week, and the other 3 of us all went 3-5. Not good weeks. For the standings, we have an interesting situation. I'm 58-45. I have a 2-game lead on Drew, who has a 2-game lead on Jake, who has a 2-game lead on JB. So 2 games separate us all. I could be super boring this week, and I could just pick the same games as Drew for everything, and I could just coast to a win. But that's not the spirit of the game, in my opinion. I think I'm gonna pick how I truly feel, and we're gonna hope for the best. We don't have a tiebreaker laid out, so I don't know how that would work out. But regardless, I'm in a situation because I don't know how I'm gonna do this because I feel like there's going to be a couple sweeps this week anyway, but I could be super boring and I could guarantee myself a win, but I'm not going to do that because, what's the fun in that?
So you're also assuming that you're going to get to pick before me, which I hardly ever let you do.
You make an unfortunately really good point.
Jake, you have a question. I would love for you to ask it for the folks at home.
I do, but before we get into these picks, because there could be some game in the game a little bit on my end, trying to get some points. Our conference tournaments not going to be involved in the pick'em standings because that could play a factor if we're going to pick tournaments. It could be tough. I just wanted to clarify before we went in here.
I feel like, maybe I feel like the scoring system would be like odd considering it's like instead of choosing one of 2 teams, we'd be choosing one of like 16. And if you pick that right, I feel like it should be worth more points,
Maybe what we do then is, this is incredibly interesting for you at home, but maybe what we do is we each pick 2 to win, and then if your first place wins, you get X points. Your second place wins, you get less points, but still points. I don't know how that would even go though.
We can figure that out all fair, maybe. I figured we would we'll have some kind of obviously a regional pick'em thing that'll be its own thing, but
right.
Regular season, we can figure it out all fair. I kind of figured it would be regular season, then there's maybe a scoring system way to, I don't know. That's a conversation for later. The people don't care enough about that to hear that right now. We'll have it figured out.
Fair enough.
But for what we're assuming, we're picking these games, and this is the end of it, the regular season.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, all guts, all glory for Drew today. We'll see if Josh. We'll see how similar Josh and I are. If I can find any interesting ways to maybe make up some pointage in here. All right. Of course, as we mentioned as well, nothing from JB yet, but it will be on Twitter. So go and check the Twitter machine. Generally, Josh will post it, or the Prospects Live account will post it. We will all retweet it. So if you're not following all of us, you'll see it on one of our accounts. It'll be there. All right, let's get to it, Josh. Georgia and Auburn. Georgia's already got the SEC wrapped up, unfortunately, but Auburn at home, Auburn on the road. Auburn's a kind of an animal right now. I don't know that any team really wants to tangle with Auburn. And yet the Georgia Bulldogs are unfortunately the team who have signed up to do that in this final week of the regular season. What's going to be the major X factor in this series? And then please lead us off with your very obvious selection.
Major X factor. I would say the pitching for both teams, but if we're getting really specific, I would say Auburn's, well, every series this week is Thursday through Saturday for reference, but Auburn's Thursday and Friday starters and Georgia's Saturday starter, I think, is the fun way to look at this, because Marciano and Alvarez have been struggling lately a little bit. This is, I don't want to say indisputably, okay, how about this? Indisputably top 3 offense in the country, no doubt. This is not a really good get-right spot for them, but it's going to have to be. Same thing goes for Georgia. Caden Aoki has kind of slid into that game 3 role that they were looking for someone to fill for a while. Aoki's looked really good in that role in the past couple weeks. This past week, he went 5 innings, allowing 1 earned, struck out 7 guys. Seems to be better than anything they've had this year at that point. That's probably the biggest X factor. Auburn still is an elite rotation, leads the country in walks per 9. This team's won 6 straight series, tied with Bama for 4th in the SEC right now. Only a half game back from second. They beat A&M, who's ahead of them, tied for that second spot, and they lost to Texas, so that tiebreaker situation could be fun. Getting that double bye would be really, really promising for them. They're tied with Bama. They're losing the tiebreaker to Bama right now, so that sucks. But this could be a big series in terms of that. You would love that double bye in Hoover, so you don't have to waste arms. I mean, like, yeah, if we were just talking about how you think my picks are going to go, this is the most obvious one on the board. I'm taking Auburn. Probably going to be a top 5 series, like 2 top 5 teams tomorrow. I don't know how far Texas is going to fall, but it's more than likely going to be a top 5 series. It'll be super fun. It'll be the series of the weekend. Very clearly, I'm picking this team. I mean, that they've rolled recently. Won 6 straight. Let's make it a 7th. We're at home. It's a rival. Might as well.
Might as well. Jake, what are you leaning in this one, man? If you've got a sentence or two with your thoughts, we'd love to have them.
Yeah. So, yeah, for Georgia, the pitching, it was a little bit shaky until the 3rd game where Caden Aoki and the boys kind of settled everything down for them. But the ball was still just flying off their bats. They had a ton of homers again. They hit for a 382 average against LSU on the weekend. And a guy that, every time we talk about Georgia, we talk about Daniel Jackson, but it still just kind of feels like we say, oh, Daniel Jackson did good again. But like he is having just an insane season. He's up to 25 homers, 74 RBIs. He's even 24 of 25 stolen base attempts. He's an animal right now, and he is absolutely dominating SEC pitching. And then just as a whole, if there's a team that can challenge the Auburn pitching staff, I think it's going to be this Georgia team. So I'm going to go with Georgia.
UGA, and I'd be curious to see where JB goes, but I think this is going to be a pretty easy distinguishing point for me and Josh. I think it's, as much as I love Auburn, and I love Auburn at home especially, I think I've got to go Georgia here because this is one of the more likely points I think we will diverge that I can make up some ground. So I'm going to go Georgia. It's going to, as Josh said, be the series of the weekend. I'm pretty certain. So we'll have our eyes on that one for sure. I'm not going to do this for everyone, but I thought it would be funny to say. And JB said he's taken Georgia. Wow, 3 of them against Josh. Crazy. And JB said he's taken Auburn. Okay, splits the graphic. Very interesting. Just use whichever one sounds right. Anyway, Jake, going to go to you now talking about Big Ten, USC and Oregon, 2 teams that at various points this season we've said clearly the second fiddle to UCLA. And now we're going to see, of the 2, who's the top squad. What do you think is going to be the major story coming into this one, Jake, and who's your pick?
Yeah, I think just something to watch for Oregon, I guess. We talked earlier about their series against UCLA. Something I want to see more from Oregon is one, just Will Sanford needs to bounce back after his tough start. He's a guy that they need to go on Friday. They need him to do well. They need him to go and pitch well against Mason Edwards. And then two, their big bats need to just continue performing. Ryan Cooney, Drew Smith, Braden Jackson, Angel Lyle, they've been kind of the force that kind of drives that offense. And they're gonna need them to get going. But if I'm gonna make my pick, I'm gonna pick USC simply because I need to get points on you guys, and you guys are not going to pick USC. So I'm going to take USC and ride the pitchers again, like we did earlier in the year. And I think I'm going to hope that they carry them to a series victory over Oregon.
Josh, I didn't see that coming. I'm curious where you're going here.
I mean, I'm leaning Oregon, especially after how this past weekend went. I mean, USC still doesn't have a quad 1 win. It's hard to predict them to take 2 of 3 in one weekend with that being their track record at this point, although they have won 11 of the past 12, so they're kind of hot right now. I'm going to take Oregon, but I do want to mention for USC, the pitching has still been electric. We haven't talked about it in a while on here just because they haven't played high-level competition, but I'm going to read some stats. Mason Edwards he's pitched 78 in the third inning this year, has a 1.61 ERA, striking out 45% of batters. That leads the country. That is nuts. Grant Govell has pitched 80 innings, has a 2.59 ERA, only walking 3% of guys. Those two, that's as good of a 1-2 punch in the country as there is. Also, off topic, but not really. I just kind of want to put this out here so I have my face attached to a video with this on it. 2 years from now, there's a bullpen guy that I really like from USC. His name is Adam Troy. He has a 3.71 ERA this year, 94-mile-an-hour fastball, good ride to it. I just want to put my face attached to a video and put it on record that I like him in terms of draft a couple of years from now. We'll see how this ages. People will forget about it if it doesn't age well, but I have it to come back to if it ages well. So anyway, I think Oregon is probably the better team here overall. They got to bounce back from a heartbreaker this weekend. Like we've been talking about, they're number 19 in the RPI. They're right on that borderline. They need guys like Drew Smith, Ryan Cooney, Angel Laya to step up like they have been recently, it seems like. Like Jake mentioned, Will Sanford has to pick it back up, and going up against Mason Edwards is, not the easiest task. But even if they lose that Friday game or Thursday game, I guess, they can still win Friday, Saturday, and I still feel pretty confident that USC might get their first quad 1 win this weekend, but Oregon will probably get 2 more.
This is wicked work, just by the way, making me choose between teams I have all year said are overrated whenever our pick'em is on the line, Josh. That's truly, truly evil.
What do you mean? It's a huge God forbid they play each other. I mean,
yeah, God forbid. Yeah, I love your manipulation of the Big Ten schedule is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I made it.
I know you did. I know you did. I know this. I've read the script. Oh, Jake, I really want to go USC, but man, I've dogged them so bad, and I can't hang my hat on looking at the rest of the way. I'm trying to see where Josh and I are going to distinguish ourselves. That way I can make some ground up.
I see one spot. I think 2.
Don't you? I'm not going to let you get under my skin right now. I'll take USC because I've said Oregon is Oregon has been testy. You may have sold me on Mason Edwards being able to get 1. I just need that offense to show up. If they're going to do it now.
Look, the USC, just a little bit more defense for the pick. They played Nevada last weekend. They hit 11 home runs in the series against Nevada. Now I know the pitching for Nevada, you can say what you want to about it, but this could just be a tune-up. This could just be what they need to get the bats rolling against no matter who they were playing against. Knowing that they were getting ready to play against Oregon. So I would expect maybe a little bit more from the bats than what we've seen the rest of the year from USC.
Maybe my trick all along was to try and hype up the USC pitching staff.
I'm starting to think it was.
Maybe that was the trick all along, and it worked. You played right in my little trap.
I'm starting to think it was. And so I'll say this, because you brought up how Edwards is still leading the league in strikeout percentage, and that's super awesome. I want to shout out Quinn. Quinn, friend of the podcast, Quinn has done some excellent work Big Ten Daily Sheet this year, and actually said the other day, and he makes a great point. Grant Govell has really, I think, furthered his case and his draft stock by becoming so much more of a well-rounded pitcher as the year has gone on. And I think that that's correlated with the fact that he has been punched and has rebounded, has shown himself to be able to make adjustments on the fly in the season. And that's a professional quality to have. So, I do not doubt these starters. It's just I very badly need the offense to show up. So we'll see if this is the one that breaks the camel's back for old Drew. Alas, we won't know until next Sunday, though. Josh, I do want to stick with you here because we've got another major SEC. We talked about it a minute ago. RPI on the line. Pride on the line. Two heavyweight offenses are going to be punching each other in the face quite a bit. Mississippi State, Texas A&M. What's the story of that game, and who's your pick?
Of course, you're going to keep it with me because you want to see me go first in all of these. I see how it is.
I went back and forth. That's what I always do. I'll pick first on this one. I'm going to pick Mississippi State. No, I already knew who I was picking off the jump. Mississippi State. It's on the record. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, well, fair enough. I was taking A&M anyway. So
I bet you were.
Fair enough. Well, I'd rather take State for the sake of the game. We need a line for my sake. I don't need to go different than you.
We haven't picked the same yet, Josh. This is crazy work. We're really tasting God right now. We're doing some crazy.
Yeah, well,
work,
you remember what happened a couple weeks ago when JB and I had 6 different picks and we went 3-3 in those. So that's probably what's going to happen here, if we're being honest. Regardless, we've been here for 3 hours already. We probably need to get going. Small storyline for this game is, I think, for my reasoning for picking A&M, Mississippi State's offense tends to take off like plenty of games in a row for whatever reason. Not necessarily like intentionally, obviously, but they tend to have off games like frequently. And I still trust A&M's offense after this past weekend. State's pitching staff is definitely more reliable, but Aiden Sims has really picked it up recently, and I don't think that McPherson's going to be back in that game 1 spot. So if Valencius everyone knows the debate that's been going on about the last name of theirs this week, but Valencius, whatever.
So I think it's just a matter of pronunciation.
So they were on the broadcast talking, and Tomas and Vidas pronounce it differently, and their mom pronounces it a third different way. I think Tomas is like Valencius, and Vidas is Valencius. So getting back to my point, in this case, Tomas Valencius would be going game 1. They'll take that probably, but Aiden Sims can take over game 2, and then game 3s are typically where offenses shine anyway. So I'll take A&M's over State in that case. That's just the logic behind it.
I think just to piggyback off you before we give it to Jake, because I'm curious where Jake's going to go to kind of break the tie on air at least. I know we won't see JB's until the graphic comes out, and that's all. That's fine. I like that, what you said, but I think if we're really going to say we know McPherson's pitching, and then we've got Charlie Foster, who, again, when he's right for Mississippi State, has been solid. I mean, it's just I like the ideal of having 2 guys you can rely on. And, I mean, how much McPherson are you going to get is going to be the real test here, Josh. And that's assuming that it sticks with, Valencius, Duke Stone, and then I guess McPherson. That's assuming that we don't move McPherson and then have Stone on Saturday. But I'm with you, though. And I think that I'm just going to lean on that pitching because I don't know that A&M can put the third game start. I don't know. That's going to be I know we said earlier Georgia Auburn is going to be the series of the weekend, and it probably will. But man, do not take a sleep on State and A&M. That's going to be a really, really good series. Jake, break the tie, pal. I'm curious what you're leaning here. Josh and I have already duked it out, and I think we've hugged each other and just accepted our lives are going to be what it is. So where are you leaning?
Yeah, I mean, you guys really just broke it down, so I'll go quick. I'm gonna go A&M. I think their bats are gonna get going at home. I don't know if Mississippi State's gonna be able to outslug them when they get back to their home park. Also, they're 25-5 at home. That's their home record. I don't really want to bet against that, so I'm gonna go with Texas A&M.
I'll say another thing. Mississippi State's used to playing in some crazy environments, but they're always in their favor, more likely than not, College Station can get rowdy too, man. That's going to be a very compelling test for the Bulldogs. Man, that's going to be a series. That's going to be a really good one. Jake, going to bounce back to you here. Georgia Tech, Boston College. And I'm curious, man, in this ACC battle, two teams that have been very impressive for, I think, all of us universally this year. We've all, with the exception of JB and his kind of issues with Georgia Tech earlier in the season. I think we've all been on the trains of Georgia Tech, and then BC's come around, and I think all of us have been supporters of the old bird ball proponents as well. So where are you leaning in this one? What's the story of this one?
Yeah, I mean, these are kind of two teams right now that are kind of heading in different directions. Georgia Tech's obviously not falling off; they haven't slowed down at all. They had another really strong weekend against Duke. They kind of dealt with a close one there in Game 1, but it was it was Drew Burris who came through. It was a walk-off sac fly to get that one, and then they just kind of rolled after that. 15-2, 14-1, got the sweep over Duke. Ton of big offensive performances there. The pitching was really good in those last two games. Carson Ballard, Jackson Blakely, and all the bullpen guys, they really did their job. Just a really good weekend of baseball for Georgia Tech. And then for Boston College, they're not necessarily heading in the right direction. They actually dropped one this weekend to NJIT, which is not a great look, and that came following a series loss to Clemson. Really tough start for Brady Miller in Game 1 of their doubleheader today against NJIT, but Colarusso, Tyler Mudd, and the rest of those guys did their thing in Game 2. I was really hoping for a Boston College regional this year. That would have been fun. Have one up here in my neck of the woods, but those recent losses don't look too great for that case. They obviously have a huge opportunity this weekend against Georgia Tech, and a series win would surely get them into that conversation again, I would think. But they're gonna have to get going down the stretch here if they want to achieve anything higher than what I think they're firmly cemented as a 2 seed right now. I guess if I'm going to make my pick, I'm going to pick Boston College to win. Look, AJ Colarusso is a dog. When he's on the mound, he's going to pitch this weekend. He's going to pitch well. I know Georgia Tech's offense is good. He can give them a chance in his game. They just got to pull out one of the other two. I'm going Boston College.
Oh, Jake. I love it. I really love it. I love it. Josh, what are you leaning here, pal?
I mean, obviously I'm leaning Tech. Jake has to make up ground, so I don't blame him for that. Boston College they're 19-4 at home. They're a really good home team. The offense has struggled a bit lately. Like guys like Nick Wang, Jack Toomey, Julio Solier haven't been really bad, but besides that, it's been kind of lately. It's just hard to not pick Georgia Tech in the spot. They've been so good. They have a 2-game lead on the ACC, so really all they need is one of these, and they'll be good, and they'll win the ACC regular season for the second year in a row. They've won 11 of their last 12, 24 of the last 27. They're just rolling right now. I am kind of concerned about they seem to not have a definitive Game 2 starter. Jackson Blakely is slotted in for the Game 3 slot, and Tate McKee's obviously been in Game 1 for them all year. But they've kind of been like iffy week to week in that Game 2 spot. So I'll be interested to see if down the road they can figure out something for that in terms of the postseason, because there were some teams that struggled with that last year, and it kind of really came to bite them in the butt, like in super regionals, whatever it may be, when you're facing good offenses every single game. So I mean, for this weekend in specific, I think the pitching will be good enough to go up against the Boston College offense that's been sputtering lately. So I'll take the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that, man, Jake, I love that swing, and I just can't bring myself to do it. And I feel like I've been making swings thus far, and anybody can respect just the games that the three of us all have to play with regards to this. And then incorporating, I got to go Tech. BC's offense has been not what you want right now going into a series with one of the most overloaded offenses in the country. I'm going to take Tech, and I feel pretty solid about making that pick as well. So, of course, we'll see what JB does there. I could see JB going Boston College just to upset the apple cart. So I'm curious to see what he does. Jake, do want to stick with you. Ole Miss, Alabama. Another big SEC series with a lot of RPI implications. potentially some things go awry for one of these teams, we may be maybe slipping them out of some region hosting gig, eh?
Maybe. I mean, looking at Alabama, just they had a nice clean sweep over South Carolina last weekend. Kind of what you'd expect them to do at this point in the year. It's a bit worrisome though, with LeBron and Brady Neal both going down to concussions in this series. Those are obviously serious injuries, and not the type that you want your best players to try to rush back from. They got some really good pitching last weekend, especially from Tyler Fay, Miles Upchurch. JoJo Williamson picked up his first home run filling in for LeBron. Eric Hines played well in their absence. We'll just obviously have to see how long this kind of takes them out for.
Yeah, it is going to be tricky, man. And I'm with you, because certainly LeBron, and we've criticized him, but that team, a spark plug like very few others can be in the country is LeBron. And so for him to have taken that kind of shot to the head and face, and it was rough, man. I mean, you don't want to see any athlete take that, but especially one with as much raw talent as LeBron. It is rough. Jake, I'm curious though, that series, where are you going to go with this one, man? You've been making some swings. I'm curious what you're thinking here.
Yeah. By my calculations, I'm trying to keep track of everything. I'll pick Alabama. They pitched it well. Fay and Upchurch has some momentum going. I'm hoping, I haven't seen an update on LeBron or Brady Neal. I don't want to try to predict what's going on with them. I'm going to go Alabama. I think they could get it done with their pitching.
I love it. Play that game, buddy. Josh, you're going to go Alabama too, surely.
I want to hear your pick on this one first, because I know my pick, but listen. Like hand on the Bible. Like, I know my pick on this, and I'm not going to switch it. I just want to hear where you go first, because I don't want my pick to sway yours. I'm just very curious to see what makes you go a certain direction here.
Jake said he thinks that the pitching for Alabama can get it done. I think that Ole Miss's pitching is going to handle business here, because especially when you consider what LeBron does badly, it's at the plate. Whenever he looks lost at the plate, and I think Ole Miss's starting pitchers specifically can victimize that. And if they're victimizing the best player on the team, it's going to take other guys stepping up. It can happen, but I think I'm going to take Ole Miss fairly confidently with this one.
All right, well, for the sake of you trying to come back in the game, you're going to be happy to hear my pick. I am against all odds. I am going to take those folks. I'm not going to say their name, but I'm going to take them. Pretty much same analysis as Jake. Bama's pitching has been lethal lately, and Ole Miss's offense has seemed to hit a lull in a sense, compared to at least what they had been doing. And Bama needs this to solidify a host spot. They're tied for 6th in the RPI, so they're probably fine if we're being honest. But they've swept 2 straight series after losing 3 straight. So they seem to be kind of putting things together at the right time. Hot, cold, hot. I sure hope not. I don't want that to apply to them, but it might. Ole Miss is 9th in the SEC right now. They need to avoid playing on Tuesday of Hoover if they'd like to, but it might seem to be like that way in my opinion. So against my better judgment, I'm going to choose not Ole Miss.
I love it. Won't even say it.
Exactly.
Respect, honestly.
If I'm the logo is going to be beside my name on the graphic. That's bad enough for me. I'm just not going to verbally say that I'm picking those individuals.
I get that. And again, mad respect, bro. You do what you got to do to win. I hope you don't, but got to do what you got to do.
Honestly, I'd be fine if I don't. I'd be cool with losing this one.
All right. I'm glad to know that you're with me in spirit then. Josh, I'm going to stick with you here. UAB and UTSA. A little bit of mid-major magic could go down here. We've got 2 of, I guess, I would say, the mid-major squads I've had kind of the most faith in this season squaring off with each other. Jake's going to be able to give us his breakdown from the most recent mid-major rankings. But I am curious, Josh, where you're leaning on this one.
Woof is all I have to say about this series. I mean, it looked way better last week than it does now. UTSA dropping the series to Memphis might have killed them, but at the same time, UAB dropping the series to Charlotte might have killed them too. So it's a really weird spot for them. I mean, UTSA's offense has dropped off a bit recently, but guys like Drew Detlefson and Caden Miller and Lan Hayworth have still been good enough recently that they probably can carry the load. Pitching is but UAB doesn't really have much to hang their hat on. I mean, they're kind of in a free fall right now. They're 3 games back in the AAC. They've lost 6 of their last 7 games, and listen to this: in those 6 losses, they have lost by an average of 11.3 to 4.3. That's the scores. So they've been getting killed in the games that they've lost to. So it's really not promising for them. John Paul Head is the one good thing they have going for him. Mason Steele is pretty good on the mound. Overall, I don't want to take either of these teams right now. I guess I'll take UTSA. They're at home. They're the better team. But, like, dropping a series to Memphis makes you lose all hope in a team. But then again, you could say the same thing about Charlotte. So I'll take UTSA against my better judgment.
Jake, here's where you're going to go. Before you pick, I do want to hear where you had these 2 teams in your most recent mid-major update, and then I'd love to get your selection as well.
Yeah, so I haven't updated it following this most recent weekend's worth of game. Coming into this weekend, UTSA was 3. UAB was at 13. They're both going to drop a little bit. UTSA not as much. UAB is probably going to take a little bit of a tumble there, just with the stretch that they're on right now. I got to pick UTSA too, just simply because I don't know. I don't really know what I can count on with UAB at this point right now. The way that they're playing, I say that it sounds really harsh to say, but they're 1-6 in their last 7 games. They've lost series to Rice and Charlotte. That game 1 last weekend was just a complete disaster, 20-2 loss. I have to go with UTSA at home. I trust them bouncing back more than I do UAB at this point. So yeah, that's going to be my pick.
We have not. I think that's the first reference we've made to Rice all season. I got to shout out Coach Pierce. Rice has been not awful. Not awful. Shout out Rice this year.
A once proud program. It is so sad that the bar is so low that we're talking about them by just saying they've been.
The bar is not awful.
Yeah. Once proud program. That is sad.
They could be proud in the future.
I'm not saying they won't be. I'm just saying they won national championships in my lifetime.
Without a doubt. Yeah, but, things could happen. Great coach.
Yeah.
Great coach. We'll see what happens. So, I'm going to go UTSA as well. I was going to lead up to it and be silly and say I'm going to take a team with a U and an A and make some dumb comment, but UTSA is where I need to go. And, I mean, honestly, at this point, I have to stick with you guys too. I've taken my swings, and I honestly didn't expect Josh to take Alabama. So that's kind of really going to separate it pretty significantly. We're just going to go pure out with this one. Jake, want to start with you because obviously we're going to talk about a series close and near and dear to our hearts and our homes. Tennessee traveling to Norman, taking on Oklahoma. The Vols did a lot of their lifting this weekend. We think that we could project one more SEC win is going to make them look real solid heading into Hoover. And yet, what would it look like if the Vols could manage 2, if not 3 wins against these Sooners? Jake, what's the major story in this matchup? Who's your pick?
Yeah, so we already talked about Tennessee earlier, and their highlight was obviously Tegan Coons. And another performance even close to that would be very welcomed by Tennessee fans. But if there's one thing to kind of nitpick off of this past weekend against Texas, even though I really don't want to do it because just winning in a series against Texas is extremely impressive. But if there's one thing I have to point out, it's that Henry Ford was just 1 for 13 on the weekend. Like, I know the rest of the offense was good for the most part, but that's your 3-hitter, and that's a guy that when you're hitting right there, it's certainly one that the team trusts to produce. And I know he wants to have a better weekend than he had against Texas because he was kind of the only one that didn't get in on the fun there. But if I had to pick one guy to that I would really want to point out that needs to have a bounce back series, it's going to be him. Also, Landon Mack would be a good one to have back this weekend. I haven't seen an update there, but he would be a good one to have. For my pick, I'm going to pick Tennessee. I want to put an asterisk by my pick because if Josh takes Tennessee, I will be picking Oklahoma.
Oh, all right, Josh. I guess that's as good a lead in to you as we can ever ask for.
I don't know what to do in this series actually because you know what? Jake can have Oklahoma. I'll take Tennessee. I came into this podcast thinking I didn't look. I came into this podcast thinking I was going to take Oklahoma because I think they're a good team and they're at home. But it is hard to have any faith in this pitching staff right now for Oklahoma. And Tennessee looked so good this past weekend. Like the offense and Tegan Coons have caught fire lately. They got to get their way out of playing on Tuesday on Hoover. They got to keep their way to 2 seed. Like they need this so bad. I just can't. I know I feel bad. I'm sorry. At a certain point, I'm trying to win, and I just can't.
You were tempted to do it. Why didn't you just do it?
Because everything I just said, I just can't pick. I just cannot pick the Oklahoma pitching staff right now against Tennessee's offense the way they played. I don't care where the games are being played.
Well,
Drew, we're gonna have to align because I know you can't not have that orange next to your name.
Yeah. I mean, I'm picking Tennessee. I feel so bad for Jake because I know that he wants Tennessee here, but it's in the best interest of his game with Pick'em. And this is let me ask. I'll just say this: you at home, if you have listened to us pick consistently, let us know in a comment. Would you rather us pick what we genuinely think, or do you want us to play the game like this going forward for next season, for whatever? Because I like it both ways. I like that we are really having to play this game and be strategic about it, but at the same time, it just makes this. There's wrinkles to it all. Anyway,
I think there's a strat because not once this entire year have I played the game. I've just picked who I think was going to win, and I'm up by 2 games right now. So if I can do it this week, I don't think, unless I've already forgotten what I've picked, I don't think I'm playing the game at all. I'm just purely going what I think is going to happen. Tennessee isn't me playing the game. I just switched my mind in the past 5 minutes.
Must have been your beautiful company you've kept in the last 5 minutes.
Probably. The orange is just always in my face, just blaring. I just can't not see it.
Now, where the hell is orange on either of our screens? That's
not right now. You wore a Tennessee shirt last podcast.
What are you wearing right now, Chief?
I'm just taking after you, all right?
That's fair. I'm picking Tennessee. Josh, can you come up with any 3 letters to maybe explain my pick?
WDE. Let's go. Come on. I'm not saying it. I'm picking your team. That's good enough for me.
Fine. Jake, I feel for you, buddy. I'm not going to say I hope Oklahoma wins. I hope they lose all 3. But if that would be the smallest speckle of silver lining in that horrible rain cloud, is that Jake would get a point up. All right. And finally, Josh, I'm going to let you lead the way on this one. Another mid-major battle, Jacksonville State, DBU. A little bit of an interesting one for you, Josh. You kind of championed DBU all season long, and yet Jacksonville State from your home state. Curious, what are you leaning in this one, sir?
I'm leaning Jacksonville State just because, I don't know. I think even though they're on the road, they truly have one of the best pitching staffs in America. They're only allowing 3.3 runs per game in the last 13 games. All 3 of their starters have sub-3 ERAs. Bo Bryant's a 61% ground ball rate. That's pretty ridiculous. I trust that pitching staff against Dallas Baptist, even though Dallas Baptist's offense is supposed to be the big thing for them, and they haven't even been phenomenal lately. Dallas Baptist needs this. They're tied for 4th in the Conference USA, and getting top 4 is huge there because of the pod system, the way it works. But I don't think they can do it. I think Jacksonville State's just been too good this year.
Been pretty impressive. Jake, I would love to get your kind of last update on your mid-major rankings for both of these squads, kind of your thoughts on what you're going to do with them going forward, and then I'd love your pick as well.
Yeah, they were both top 7 teams heading into the weekend for me. Dallas Baptist was at 7, Jack State at 5. I don't know what I'm going to do with Dallas Baptist yet. Not much is going to happen with Jack State. You know, they had a big weekend against Kennesaw, but Dallas Baptist, they did lose to Western Kentucky. I don't in terms of the rankings, I don't know what it's going to be, but Ben Tryon, Luke Pettit, Jake Bennett, they all hit homers today, but they didn't have just the strongest weekend as a whole. And those are the guys on that offense that you would really want to get going if you're gonna root for them. I'm gonna pick Dallas Baptist. Not just because it's the game. I have done that obviously a lot this episode. I haven't done it a ton on the season, I don't think, at least. But this episode, obviously, I'm picking against Josh and you for different reasons. But I do like this Dallas Baptist team, even though they did just lose to Western Kentucky. They're coming back home. They're a good team at home. If their bats are going to get going, this is not the easiest pitching matchup for them to get going against for sure. But they're coming back home. They're going to be comfortable. They get to finish the season in their home park before they head into conference tournament. So I'll go Dallas Baptist. I think the bats are going to get going.
I like that pick. Josh has kind of sold me on DBU as the year has gone along, and it's just so ironic to me that DBU, when I think of them historically, I think of just excellent pitching, and yet this year it has been the offense. It's been your Tryon and Pettit and all these dudes who are just really, really looking excellent. But as of late, just I don't know, Jake. I love the pick because I want to go with you, but I just Pillsbury's look so good. Cash's look so good.
Mm-hmm.
Brian's has looked so good. And like you said, dude, I just don't know that this is the pitching staff to do it with. And I'll take Jack State. I want to go DBU, but again, in the interest of transparency with all of you and with you guys at home, I knew I wanted to separate from Josh with 3 games. I didn't expect 4, but the 4 games I thought we may separate on were the ones that we ended up being separate. So it's going to be interesting. Very curious to see where JB aligns on some of these selections, because that will really kind of shake out our final in-season standings. This was fun, guys. I think we really a lot of good discussion, and obviously the game was played. I can't wait to see what comes to it. That graphic is going to be an interesting one. There's a lot of bizarre things on that graphic. The 7th series, Tennessee, Oklahoma. Jake, you're going to have a bizarre logo there. And then Ole Miss, Alabama. Josh, a truly strange logo next to your name in that one. It's going to be interesting for sure. But fun episode nonetheless. A little bit of a jumbo-sized episode, breaking down 2 full weekends. So we hope that you guys have enjoyed that at home. But, Jake, I want to give you the opportunity to tell the folks at home what you're working on and where they can find you on social media between our episodes of College Baseball Now.
You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Barge. A lot of the same stuff going on there. I got me and Josh's bracketologies has been coming out. We have the episode coming up, which is going to be so much fun. I can't wait for that. The mid-major rankings are obviously over there, and then I might have one more live looks coming out by the end of the year. I'm going to get. I went to St. Joe's the other day. A lot of fun. Huge game. From Drew's guy on St. Joe's. Duke McCarron really good on the mound for them as well. It was a lot of fun going to watch that. And I think this upcoming weekend I may go down to Delaware. They get Western Kentucky to finish their season, so might have a little combo live looks there. So be on the lookout for that, I guess.
Mix it up a little bit. I like it. And by the way, Primrose is our guy, Jake. I can't say that's a Drew and Jake guy for sure. So yes, love that. Looking forward to seeing that article and hearing your thoughts on the road as well. Josh, what are you working on? Where can people find you between our episodes, buddy?
You can find me on Twitter at JoshCatlett3. I'll have my rankings out by the time this is posted. I have to make that graphic after this. It was not fun this week. I think teams 7 through 11 of my rankings last week all lost series this week, so it wasn't really fun to come up with. But regardless, yeah, I've got that. I've got some more list stuff I'm dropping soon. I'm trying to refine all my lists, get another one of those come out soon. I'll get some ACC tournament content in about a week or so. So, yeah, follow me if you want to be part of all that.
You got a lot of stuff coming, and people need to be following you on Twitter for all that great content. It is always great. You guys both are doing great work on the Twitter machine. Speaking of great work, there's tons of it at prospectslive.com. Membership starts as low as $7 a month. You can get all kinds of stuff, including the college daily sheet that's keeping on rolling along, the minor league and major league daily sheets as well as rankings, tips, tricks, tools, lists, all kinds of articles, podcasts, and things for your baseball fandom, whether that's fantasy baseball, your major league team, your college team, draft hype, your card hobby, all kinds of things at prospectslive.com we can see and provide you with at a low rate for the best content in baseball on the internet. If you're interested in following me, you may do so on the Twitter machine, on Instagram, on Blue Sky at Drew is okay. Lots of work coming out. We've got a mock draft coming out this week. Mock draft 3.0. We have top 200 NCAA is finally reaching its conclusion after much hype, much delay. Drew's got some live looks I'm looking at. Got a ton of articles that I need to be getting to, including a live looks from Jake, live looks from Will Dodge. We've got the April team of the month, all kinds of great stuff on there as well. And just looking forward to being back at the park as soon as that can be, whether that's Hoover or potentially a Starkville regional. It's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to do it. And can't wait for our next episode of College Baseball Now. Wednesday, we encourage you tune in at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. We're going live with bracketology. It could be about this length of episode, maybe a little bit longer. We encourage you to join in, comment, because we're going to have comments from you all, obviously, as we're breaking down the teams, as we're setting up the most recent edition of bracketology between Josh and Jake. I will likely have a couple of tidbits here and there, and we'll throw some Drew spice into the mix. God only knows what that's going to look like. We'll have a good time doing it, though. But until next time, for Josh, for Jake, for JB, who is currently over the Atlantic Ocean, I'm Drew, and we will see you next time on College Baseball Now. Take care.